You okay, miss?
She looked up, startled. The black girl at the corner table, 18, electrical patch on her polo.
Yeah, I'm fine.
He glanced at her lunchbox open in front of her.
You sighed.
Just...
She hesitated.
Sir, can you watch this? I'm gonna ask if there's soup left in the back. For your lunch to fill up.
She slid the pink lunchbox toward him and walked off. He stared at it. Then, he opened it. There was nothing inside worth calling a meal, and a napkin folded twice on top. He unfolded the napkin. 3 words. His knees almost went. An anonymous email had brought him here 6 days ago. He had come to look into something quiet, and whatever was written on that napkin was about to break him. The cafeteria emptied. Garrett wiped down the steam table the way Pritchard had taught him on day 1. Fast, no streaks, no questions. Gary! He looked up. Donna Pritchard, food services director, stood at the end of the line. Mid-50s, sharp gray bob, smile that didn't reach her eyes. Yes, ma'am? You sat with that Belle girl yesterday? She sat with me. Same thing. She tapped her pen against her clipboard. We don't do that here. Do what? Get familiar. Some of these kids take advantage. You serve them. You don't talk to them. You understand? Yes, ma'am. She studied him a moment longer, then walked away. He kept wiping. His jaw stayed tight. Some of these kids. He knew which kids she meant. By 11 o'clock, he was on the loading dock, watching the morning's second delivery. 6 days in, he had started keeping count. At 5:45 a.m., a Granary Food Services truck pulled in. Clean white panels, real driver in real uniform, real ingredients off the back. Produce in waxed boxes, proteins on ice, bread in branded sleeves. Reggie signed for it. By 7:10 a.m., half of those boxes had been wheeled into a room at the back of the kitchen, behind a handwritten sign that read, Dry goods, do not enter without authorization. By the 6 p.m, prep. No logos, generic brown cardboard, bread that bent the wrong way, chicken thawing in pink water. 6 days. Same pattern, same timestamps, same back room. He had not yet seen who unloaded the second delivery. Gary, you want to grab lunch? Reggie Holloway leaned against the dock railing. 61, gray beard, eyes like a man who had been waiting a long time for someone to ask the right question. In a minute. You've been watching that back room a lot. Have I? 3 days running. Garrett didn't answer. Reggie spat over the railing. Some men get rich by not looking. Others go broke trying to. Which one am I? Haven't decided yet. Reggie walked off toward the boiler room, leaving Garrett alone on the dock. He turned and went back inside past the front office, where the wall plaque caught his eye the way it had every morning since he arrived. Granary Food Services, proud partner of Cornerstone since 2018. 6 years. $186,000 a month. Federal nutrition compliance, state audit certification, 3 contract renewals, 1 satisfied customer. On paper. On the trays, gray meat, dishwater soup, 3-day bread. He had not come here to fix it. He had come here to see it. He slowed half a step at the plaque, the way he did every time, and kept walking. In the staff break room that afternoon, 2 teachers were already talking when he came in for coffee. He stayed by the counter. Cafeteria food again? My kid won't touch it. Mine either. I pack his lunch every day. Lucky? What do you mean, lucky? Some of these kids, their parents can't pack. A long silence. Then the second teacher, lower. Yeah. I know which ones. She didn't have to say their names. Everyone at the table knew. The school food line at lunch was almost entirely black and Latino. The bring-your-own-bag kids were almost entirely not. Garrett finished his coffee. He didn't taste it. He went back to work. That night in the motel, he laid out everything on the desk. 11 emails on one side, each one anonymous, each one specific. My son lost 11 pounds since enrolling here. The chicken smells wrong. They're not serving what you're paid to deliver. 6 days ago, he had asked his counsel, Eleanor Mason, to pull the paperwork. Garrett, Granary's been delivering exactly what they're billed for. Cornerstone's been paying exactly what they're invoiced. The fraud isn't on the contract line. Then where is it? After the truck unloads. He had told her 10 days. 10 working days, on the ground, under a fake name, in someone else's apron, to find out who was opening that back room door. He was 6 days in. He had photographs. He had timestamps. He had nothing yet that would survive a courtroom. He folded the 11 emails back into his coat pocket. He thought about the black girl who had pushed a pink lunchbox across his prep table. To fill up. He thought about 3 words on a napkin. And he thought, for the first time in 20 years, that he might be running out of days. The next morning, Garrett worked the steam table during the lunch rush. 280 students passed through the cafeteria doors between 11:30 and 12:15. He counted because it was the only thing keeping him from saying something he couldn't take back. 58 of them took a school tray. The rest carried insulated bags, energy bars, fast food sacks from the gas station 2 blocks over. Some carried nothing at all. He watched a freshman buy a single bag of chips from the vending machine and call it lunch. The 58 at his line were quiet. They didn't joke. They didn't ask for more. They took what was given and they ate it because they had to. Smaller portion on the meat, Gary. Pritchard passing behind him. This is the portion you told me yesterday. Today it's smaller. She walked off. He didn't argue. He served what she told him. A second-year welder came through the line. Big kid, maybe 240 pounds, hands that already had burn scars from the shop floor. Garrett ladled the regulation roast beef serving onto his plate. The kid looked at the plate, looked up at Garrett, said nothing, moved on. Behind the welder came Kwame, the boy who had tried to give Amara his apple yesterday. He held out his tray. 2 scoops, Mr. Gary? Sorry, son. 1 today. Yesterday was 2. I know. Kwame stared at the single scoop for a beat, then said quietly, Cool. Thanks anyway. He moved on. At the end of the line came Amara Bell, the same polo, the same electrical patch, the same way of holding her tray with both hands like it might tip. Hi, sir. Hi, Miss Bell. You remembered my name. Hard to forget. He paused, ladle in hand. Soup today? Yes, please, and the bread, if there's extra. There's extra. He gave her 2 pieces. Pritchard wasn't looking. She took her tray to the corner table. He watched her sit down. She did the thing he had watched her do every day for a week. She cut her bread into 4 pieces, chewed each one 20 times, set her spoon down between sips of soup, counted the time between bites. Off the line, Pritchard's voice. Garrett looked up. She was at the corner table, standing over Amara. What? You heard me. Off the line. You took 2 breads. He gave me 2. He doesn't decide that. I do. She held out her hand. Give 1 back. Amara looked down at her tray. The 2 pieces of bread sat on the corner of it. She picked 1 up. She held it out. Pritchard didn't take it. Put it on the tray for the next kid. Don't touch what you don't pay for. Amara set the bread on the empty tray Pritchard slid in front of her. Her hand didn't shake. Her face didn't move. And you, Pritchard turned to Garrett. In my office. Now. The cafeteria had gone silent. 280 students were watching. The 58 in the school food line had stopped chewing. Garrett put down the ladle. He walked. In her office, Pritchard closed the door. She didn't sit. She didn't offer him a seat. You sat with her again. I served her. She came through the line. You gave her seconds. I gave her what was on the steam table. Listen to me, Gary, or whatever your name is. These kids, she pointed at the wall, at the cafeteria beyond it. They will eat you alive if you let them. They will take and take and take, and then they will go home to families that taught them entitlement is a virtue. We feed them. We don't befriend them. You step out of line one more time, you are gone. Are we clear? Yes, ma'am. Good. She opened the door. He walked out. Reggie was standing by the dish station, mop in hand. He didn't look up, but as Garrett passed, he said, low enough that only Garrett could hear, "She's been doing that for 3 years, son. 3 years. And the only people who ever stand up are the ones who can afford to lose the job." Garrett kept walking. He went back to the steam table. The line was gone. Amara was still at her corner. She had not touched the soup. She was reading her napkin. He didn't go near her. He thought, 4 days. I have 4 days left. And then everything I have seen in this building is going to belong to a courtroom. He picked up the ladle. He kept his face still. The motel room was cold. The air conditioner clicked on at 1 a.m. and didn't stop. Garrett sat at the laminate desk with the burner phone open. 11 emails on one side, a legal pad on the other. 3 columns: what I have, what I need, what I can lose. The third column was the shortest. He dialed Eleanor. "Garrett, it's late. I have 4 days." "For what?" "To get something that survives a courtroom." He heard her shift in bed, then paper being pulled across a nightstand. "Tell me what you've got." "Granary truck unloads at 5:45. Premium product, real seals. By 7:10, half is in a locked room. By 7:50, generic boxes are out for prep." "You have photos?" 6 mornings, timestamps, GPS, plate of the panel van that does the swap. "That's a substitution. Wire fraud against a federal nutrition contract. 36-month sentencing guideline." "Not enough." "Why?" "Because if I move now, they relocate Pritchard, replace Lawson, and the scheme restarts at another school next semester. I want the ledger, the audio, the names of everyone in on it." "You think there's an inside angle?" "I think 11 emails came to my desk in 6 months. You and I never saw one. Somebody filtered them." Eleanor was quiet a moment. Then, "Diane, don't move on her yet. I need her in place." "Garrett, 19 years. I know how long it's been." "What do you need from me?" 2 micro recorders by morning. Drop them at the diner on Route 9. I'll pick them up before shift. And a clean drive with notarized chain of custody for whatever I bring back. Done. One more thing. When this breaks, it breaks fast. I want the U.S. Attorney's white-collar liaison in the building the minute I walk into that boardroom, not 5 minutes after. That takes a call I can't make at 1 a.m. Make it at 6. He almost hung up. Then, "There's a girl here." I assumed. 18, eats 1 sandwich and an apple for lunch and saves half for the bus ride home. Her grandmother writes her notes on napkins. "What kind of notes?" "Just 3 words. "What do they say?" He looked at his own hand on the desk. "I'll tell you when I'm done." "Garrett." "Yes." "Document everything. Touch nothing. Be slow." "I'm trying." He hung up. He sat at the desk a long time. Then he opened the top drawer and took out a wallet card he had been carrying for 19 years. Diane Albright, executive assistant to the chairman. Her cell written in her own hand on the back. He set it on the desk. He didn't call. He just looked at it. Outside, a truck passed on the highway. The wall clock ticked. He thought about Pritchard's hand reaching for the bread, about Amara setting it down on the empty tray without changing expression, about Reggie's voice. The only people who ever stand up are the ones who can afford to lose the job. He could afford to lose every job in this country. That was the problem. He picked up the legal pad and wrote 1 line at the bottom of the 3rd column in capitals. "I have been too far away for too long." Then a single word under it. "Slow." He turned off the light. He didn't sleep. Day 7, 5:12 a.m. He was already on the loading dock when the granary truck pulled in. He stayed behind the dumpsters this time, phone in one hand, recorder in the other. The driver unloaded. Produce in waxed boxes, proteins on ice, bread in branded sleeves. Reggie signed the manifest. The truck left at 5:58. 6 minutes later, a white panel van with no markings backed in. 2 men in gray shirts got out. They didn't speak. They knew the routine. They wheeled half the granary boxes out and loaded 8 of their own in. Generic brown cardboard, no logos, no invoices changing hands. Plates. NC7K330. Side panel had a magnetic decal slot. Empty. They were gone by 6:42. He had it. Plates, faces, timestamps, box count, audio of the dock door rolling open and shut. He pocketed the recorder, waited until the back lot was clear, and went inside through the service entrance. At the steam table during breakfast service, Amara came through the line with her tray. "Morning, Miss Bell." "Morning, sir." "Test today?" "Hands-on, wiring a 3-phase panel." "Good luck." "I don't need luck. I studied." "Then good wiring." She almost smiled. She picked up her tray and went to the corner. He watched her open her lunchbox on the side of the tray, read the napkin, refold it, tuck it in her sleeve. Every day, he thought, and turned back to the line. The 58 other kids on his line moved past in silence the way they always did. He started counting again. Not students this time, but seconds between bites at the corner table, the way a metronome marks a song. Day 8, he found Ms. Thomason in the second-floor hallway. Vera Thomason, first-year instructor, electrical program, 20 years younger than every other teacher in the building, already wearing the tired look they wore. "Mr. Iverson?" He stopped. "Excuse me?" "Sorry, Mr. Gary, slip of the tongue." He held her eyes. She didn't blink. "I'm the one who's been emailing." He didn't answer. 16 months. 11 emails to your corporate inbox. Nothing came back. So when a temp worker shows up, nobody recognizes it and starts photographing the back room. "I do my homework, Mr. Iverson. There's not a lot of you out there." How many other people know? Nobody. "I'm not in this to be famous. I'm in this because the girl in your line lost 9 pounds last semester and her grandmother is raising her on a fixed income." Amara. Amara. He took a breath. "What else do you have?" "A spreadsheet of every kid who's been written up for a food complaint in the last 3 years. Every name on it is Black, Latino, or both. I have parent emails. I have a recording of Lawson telling me, quote, maybe she should be grateful. I've been waiting 2.5 years for somebody to ask. Send everything to this address tonight." He wrote Eleanor's secure inbox on a corner of his pad and tore it off. "And Vera, don't tell anyone you spoke to me. Not your husband, not the union rep, nobody." "I was hoping you'd say that." She walked off down the hallway. He stayed there a beat, then kept walking. By the time he reached the supply closet, his hands were steady again. He checked the recorder battery, swapped the storage card for a fresh one, slid the used card into the inner pocket of his apron, and went back to work. The kitchen ran lunch. He served what Pritchard told him to serve. He counted the trays. He counted the kids the trays were short for. Day 9, 11:47 a.m. He was mopping the corridor outside the principal's office when he heard Lawson's voice through the door. "The Cousins Company. Yeah, we're saving $14,000 a month off Granary's build cost. Just keep the loud parents happy with the front office tour. The rest don't notice. The rest are eating because they have to." A pause, then a laugh, hollow and pleased with itself. "Donna handles it. Don't worry about Donna. Donna's clean as a sheet. She does what I tell her, and she takes her cut, and she keeps her mouth shut. The whole thing runs on her not caring and me caring just enough." Garrett kept mopping. He kept his face neutral. He let the recorder in his apron pocket run. He moved the mop in slow, even arcs across the corridor tile, the way a man might who actually worked in school buildings. He had everything now for the financial trace. He had the operational footprint. He had Vera's documentation. What he still needed was the ledger. And that night, Reggie gave him the next best thing. The maintenance man pulled him into the boiler room without a word, closed the door, locked it, reached behind a heating duct and pulled out a thumb drive sealed in a sandwich bag. 2 years. Of what? Audio. Pritchard's back room, Lawson's office, the break room. Every word about heritage provisions, every kickback figure, names, dates, dollar amounts. Conversations they don't think anybody hears. Why now? Because I'm 61 and I've worked in school buildings for 38 years, and I know what stealing food from poor kids sounds like. I mailed copies to the district twice, bounced back. I sent it to Granary Corporate. Nothing. I'm done waiting. Why me? Reggie looked at him a long moment. Day 1, you stood in front of that Granary plaque on the wall longer than anybody has in 3 years. Like it meant something to you. And the second day, you didn't look away when Pritchard cut that boy's portion in front of the line. Most people look away. Garrett took the drive. He didn't say anything. You gonna be okay with what's on there? No. Didn't think so. He drove back to the motel and listened to the drive on headphones until 2 in the morning. He heard Pritchard tell her own assistant, Lawson wants the meat ratio cut again. I told him we can't or the kids will stop eating and we'll lose cover. He said, if they stop eating, we save more. He heard her sigh. He heard Reggie 10 seconds later off mic sigh too. He heard Lawson on another track tell a board member's wife, your son's tray is always Granary, Karen. You can be sure of that. He stopped the playback. He sat in the dark for a long time and stared at the motel ceiling. Day 10 was supposed to be his last. It was almost his shortest. Amara wasn't at lunch. Vera found him at the steam table during cleanup. Her face had changed. Her grandmother had a stroke last night. Small one. She's at county. Amara's been there since 2 a.m. Garrett took off his apron. He folded it on the prep table. I'll be back in an hour. Pritchard's gonna notice. Let her. He drove to the bakery on 8th. Real bakery. He bought a small loaf of sourdough, a 1/4 pound of turkey from the deli case, fresh lettuce, a jar of mustard. He made the sandwich in his truck in the county hospital parking lot. He wrapped it in butcher paper. He found Amara on the 3rd floor in a waiting room chair. She looked up when he came in. He didn't sit. How is she? Stable. They're keeping her overnight. He held out the sandwich. You haven't eaten. She took it. She unwrapped it slowly, looked at the bread, the turkey, the lettuce, looked up at him. Mr. Gary, are you a rich man? Why? Because I've watched people give poor folks food my whole life. They give us cheap food, leftover food, food they didn't want. You gave me real food. Poor folks can't give other poor folks real food because they don't have it either. Only rich people have enough to give. He didn't answer. That's okay, she said. You don't have to say. He left. He drove back to the school. He clocked back in. Pritchard was waiting by the time clock. Where were you? Errand. What errand? Personal. You're on thin ice, Gary. Yes, ma'am. She walked off. He held the punch card in his hand a moment, then put it back in the rack. He finished his shift. He swept the cafeteria floor twice, the way Reggie had taught him on day 1. Get the corners first, then sweep toward the door. He left at 7:14. By that evening, he was home in his own house for the first time in 9 days. The rooms felt larger than he remembered. He showered. He put on the cheapest suit he owned, a gray off-the-rack he had bought at a department store the morning he flew in. He called Eleanor. Board meeting, 9 a.m. tomorrow. Don't tell them who's coming. What about Diane? Tomorrow, after the boardroom. I want her in the building when it breaks. All right. He hung up. He laid the thumb drive, the photographs, the financial trace, Vera's spreadsheet, his own recordings, and a single folded napkin on his kitchen counter. He stood there a long time. He thought about 3 words. He thought about only rich people have enough to give. He thought, tomorrow, you give it. 4:30 a.m., day 11. Reggie unlocked the back door of the kitchen from the outside and Garrett slipped in behind him. The cafeteria was dark. The freezer ticked. They didn't speak until they reached the dry goods door. You sure about this? I'm sure. Once we open this door, son, you can't put it back. I'm not trying to put it back. Reggie nodded once. He took the master key off his belt ring. The lock turned with a soft click. He pushed the door open with the back of his hand. The room was the size of a single car garage. Stacks of off-brand cans lined the left wall 3 pallets deep. To the right, a chest freezer full of meat in plain plastic. Garrett opened it. The chicken was gray and crystallized at the edges. Underneath each peeling sticker was another sticker, older, with a different expiration date. In the corner stood a small office desk with a label printer on it. A box of blank stickers, a stack of expired meat trays with the original USDA dates still showing under the new ones. He photographed 3 trays in sequence, lifting the top sticker on each to expose the original. They've been doing this in the building, Reggie said quietly, not even bothering to do it off-site. How long? 3 years I've been recording. Probably longer. Behind the printer, on a metal shelf, sat a black 3-ring binder. The cover bore a single typed label, Heritage Provisions, Internal. Garrett took it down. He laid it flat on the desk. He opened it. 30 pages of monthly accounting. Pritchard's handwriting. Each page tracked the difference between what Granary delivered and what Heritage substituted, line item by line item. Each month totaled out at the bottom in red ink, roughly $14,000. He flipped to a quarterly summary, $504,000. Below it, 4 sets of initials in pen. HLDP. HLDP. 12 quarters, 3 years. Reggie said nothing. He was looking over Garrett's shoulder. Garrett photographed every page. Heritage Provisions, LLC was registered to a Carl Whitaker at a residential address out of state. He flipped to the back of the binder. Behind the registration was a manila folder, labeled in marker, Do Not Shortcut. He opened it. A printed list, 12 student names. Beside each name, a parent's name, a job title. Karen Whitfield, board chair, spouse. Marcus Whitfield, Jr., 11th grade. He read down the column. A board member's daughter. The assistant superintendent's son. The senior pastor at the largest church in the county. At the bottom, a typed line. These trays are always Granary product. Confirm with kitchen lead daily. He stood there a long moment. You see what I see? I see it. They had a list. They knew. He photographed the entire list. He closed the folder. He closed the binder. He put it back exactly where he had found it, the spine aligned to the dust outline on the shelf. He opened his recorder and spoke low. Chain of custody, Garrett Iverson speaking. 4:51 a.m., Cornerstone Vocational Academy. All evidence photographed in place. Nothing removed. He uploaded the photos to Eleanor's notarized cloud bucket from the burner. He watched the timestamp save. Then he stood up and looked around the room one more time. The off-brand cans, the peeling stickers, the label printer, the list of children who got real food, and the much longer list, out there, sitting at tables, who didn't. Reggie locked the door behind them when they left. He set the key back on his belt ring. 38 years, Reggie said. First time anyone stood in there who wasn't stealing. Garrett didn't trust himself to answer. They walked back through the dark cafeteria. The clock above the steam table read 5:09 a.m. The first delivery truck would be in the lot in 36 minutes. The board meeting was in 3 hours and 51 minutes. He sat in the driver's seat of his pickup. He did not start the engine. He thought about 12 names. He thought about 268 names that weren't on the list. He picked up his phone and texted Eleanor a single line. Bring the agents. The boardroom sat above the cafeteria. Long oak table, 12 chairs. At 8:54 a.m., the chairs began filling. Howard Lawson came in first, in a navy suit, shaking hands with the chairman's wife, smiling the way he always smiled at people who signed his renewals. Donna Pritchard followed in a beige blazer, folder under one arm. She set up her laptop at the front. Title slide, Nutrition Services, Year-over-Year Performance. Behind her on the screen, a chart with green arrows pointing up. Garrett walked in at 8:58 in his gray, off-the-rack suit. Eleanor Mason walked in beside him in charcoal pinstripes. They sat at the back. Pritchard didn't see them. Lawson glanced over, frowned at the unfamiliar face, looked away. At 9:01, the chairman called the meeting to order. Before nutrition reports, we have a community member who requested a brief slot. Howard? Lawson stood. Yes, a Mr. Iverson asked for 5 minutes. Mr. Iverson, would you— Garrett stood. He walked to the front. Pritchard's face tilted, trying to place him. He set down a binder, a laptop, and a single thumb drive. Good morning. My name is Garrett Iverson. I'm an independent investigator engaged by Granary Food Services to verify contract performance at this campus. Lawson's pen stopped. Pritchard's hand went very still on her clicker. Over the past 11 days, I have documented a substitution scheme operating in this building's food service. I'm going to show you what I found. 3 pieces of evidence. 11 minutes. He plugged the drive into the projector. Pritchard's own voice filled the room. Lawson wants the meat ratio cut again. I told him we can't or the kids will stop eating and we'll lose cover. He said, if they stop eating, we save more. A board member set her coffee down. Another folded his hands. Second slide. Eleanor's financial trace projected line by line. Granary billed, Granary delivered. Heritage Provisions LLC substituted. Carl Whitaker, sole registrant. A man who had never set foot in this state. Total documented skim, $504,000. Pritchard's face had gone the color of paper. Third slide. Garrett's photographs of the Dawn swap, time-stamped, GPS tagged, license plate visible. The white panel van. Lawson stood up. Ladies and gentlemen, this man entered our building under a false employment application. That is fraud. That is trespass. Anything he claims to have seen is fruit of a poisoned tree, and our counsel will pursue him personally and aggressively. Eleanor opened her folder, calm. My client's contract with Granary is in your packet, page 4. Granary is the contracted food provider for this campus. Granary has clear standing to verify the use of its product on the premises. Lawson read page 4. He sat. Then he stood again. Let me be honest with this board about what is really happening here. This is a working-class school. We serve the children no other district wants. Mr. Iverson is, 9 days in this building? And now he wants to lecture us about how we feed our students? With respect, sir, you do not know this community. These children— Page 71, Garrett's voice cut him off. What? In your packet. Page 71. The chairman opened his packet. The other board members opened theirs. Pages turned. Do not shortcut, Garrett read aloud. 12 names, each one a child of a donor, a board member, a senior administrator. Page 71, line 3. Marcus Whitfield, Jr., 11th grade. The chairman went still. Your son's tray, Mr. Chairman, came from real Granary product every day for 3 years. The other 268 kids in this building ate from Heritage. Mr. Lawson maintained the list. Ms. Pritchard executed it. You did not write it, but your son's name is on it, and his tray was always full. The chairman put both hands flat on the table. A board member 3 seats down said, very quietly, "My daughter is on this list." Another said, "Mine too." Pritchard turned to Lawson. "Howard, I followed your direction. The budget parameters came from the administration." "Donna, do not. You said the kids who mattered were taken care of. That's what you said. I have it in writing. 3 emails. November." Lawson's hand found the edge of the table. Eleanor stood. "For the record, the county paid Granary in full every month for 3 years. Granary delivered in full every month for 3 years. The two of you, together, stole the difference. $504,000. The door opened. 2 federal agents and the U.S. Attorney's white-collar liaison stepped inside. The senior agent held up a badge. "Mr. Lawson? Ms. Pritchard? Step away from the table, please." Lawson did not move at first. He looked at the chairman. The chairman did not look back. He looked at the woman from accounting. She turned her chair 45 degrees away from him. He looked at the board member whose daughter was on the list. The board member would not meet his eyes either. He stood up slowly. The agent read him his rights. Pritchard was crying by then, silent, hands flat on her thighs. They walked her out first. The chairman sat very still. "Mr. Iverson," he said, "who exactly are you with Granary?" Garrett closed his laptop. He picked up the thumb drive. "I'm an investigator, engaged by Granary. That's all this room needs from me today." He walked out. Eleanor walked out beside him. Vera Thomason, in the 3rd row, stood up and asked the chairman if she could enter 16 months of documentation into the record. 3 other staff members raised their hands. The chairman, still staring at the table, said, "Yes, please." The cafeteria was empty when Garrett walked back in at 10:42 a.m. Federal agents were photographing the dry goods room. 2 FBI evidence techs were tagging the binder. Reggie stood by the steam table with his arms folded, watching them work. "That was something to see. I'm not done." "Didn't think you were." By noon, Garrett was in the interim principal's office with Eleanor, the district superintendent who had driven down from the county seat, and a woman from state nutrition compliance. They had pulled 3 folding chairs around the desk. Garrett spoke for 37 minutes without notes. When he finished, the superintendent said, "Mr. Iverson, with respect, Granary is a contractor. You can recommend, you can't restructure." Eleanor opened her folder. "Granary will absorb the cost of the program reforms we are about to propose. Granary will fund an independent annual audit at Granary's own expense. Granary will guarantee universal full meals for every enrolled student at this campus. No application, no income test, for the duration of the current contract and the next 2 renewal cycles." The superintendent stared at her. "Granary will sign that today?" "Granary's chairman is in this room." The superintendent looked at Garrett, then at Eleanor, then at Garrett again. He did not say anything for a long moment. He did not have to. "All right," he said finally. "What are you proposing?" Garrett laid 8 typed pages on the desk. Delivery verification at every drop, with 3 signatures required. Faculty, rotating student representative, independent auditor. No back room. The dry goods storage permanently unlocked, motion cameraed and visible from the cafeteria through a new glass wall. Open kitchen day. Parents and students welcome on any unannounced shift. Public budget portal. Every dollar Granary received published online weekly. Independent annual audit. Outside firm only. No Granary or district relationships. Results published in full. No list. Identical trays for every student, no exceptions. The Do Not Shortcut folder shredded that afternoon in front of the new interim administration. 3 full meals a day for any enrolled student, no sign-up. Whistleblower protections for Vera, for Reggie, and for any future staff member who reported misconduct. Written, signed, and filed with the state. The superintendent read each page. He read them twice. Mr. Iverson, this is going to cost Granary nearly $1 million a year above the contract. I'm aware. For one campus. For now. What does "for now" mean? It means I have 8 sister campuses on Granary contracts and an internal audit team that's going to be very busy starting Monday. The superintendent set the papers down. You could have called any of this in, from your office, with a phone. I tried. For 9 years. 11 emails got filtered out of my inbox by my own assistant. I didn't know what was happening in my own buildings. And now I do. He stood. He shook the superintendent's hand. They signed the framework that afternoon. Reggie was offered the role of Director of Operations Verification at 3 times his maintenance salary. He sat across from Garrett in the boiler room of all places when the offer was made. On one condition. What? I keep the keys to every door in this building. All right, including yours. Garrett looked at him a long beat. Especially mine. Vera Thomason was promoted to Student Wellness Coordinator with a discretionary budget she could spend without sign-off from anyone above her. Her first purchase order, signed that Friday, was for 30 complete electrical apprentice tool sets. So they don't have to share 6 between 30, she said. Garrett signed off without reading the line items. Late that afternoon, Eleanor called from her car. Garrett? Yes? I have Diane Albright on the line. She wants to say her piece before the federal referral goes in. Put her through. A click. Garrett? Diane. A silence that ran 4 beats long. I worked for you for 19 years. I scheduled your daughter's wedding. I picked the flowers for your wife's funeral. You paid me to manage your inbox. I managed your inbox. He did not answer. They paid me $4,000 a month to filter 11 emails. Do you know what my salary was, Garrett? Do you actually know? You signed it for 19 years and you do not know. It was $86,000 a year. To run the life of a man worth $2.5 billion. $4,000 a month was $48,000 a year. It was a 56% raise. It was the difference between renting and buying a house for my mother. You paid me to manage your inbox and you did not notice 11 things in 6 months. That is not me failing you. That is you being too far away to fail. The silence went 6 beats this time. Diane, he said, you are right about the salary. You are wrong about the rest. Eleanor will handle the referral. Goodbye. Eleanor came back on the line after the click. She will plead. 3 years probation, full restitution. She will be all right. I will not. I know. He hung up. He sat in the kitchen at his own table for a long time without moving. He looked out the window. He looked at the napkin Amara had pressed into his palm that morning. Eat slow, baby. And at the 11 printed emails he had finally pulled from his coat pocket and laid flat next to it. He thought, I have been too far away for too long. And I just had to be told by a woman I have wronged to know it. He picked up his phone. He texted Eleanor one line. Set up the foundation, quietly. We launch in a year, 95%. She did not ask twice. 4 weeks after the federal arrests, the Cornerstone cafeteria looked the same and felt different. The line was longer now and quieter in a different way. The quiet of people who were eating instead of the quiet of people who were enduring. Garrett still worked the line Tuesdays and Fridays. He had stopped pretending he didn't know the kids' names. Amara came through with her tray. Real chicken, fresh roll, hot soup. She still cut her bread into 4 pieces. She still chewed each one 20 times. You don't have to do that anymore, he said. Do what? Eat slow. I'm not eating slow because I'm hungry, Mr. Gary. I'm eating slow because I like it now. She walked to the corner table. She unfolded her napkin, read it, tucked it in her sleeve, and started on her bread. 2 weeks earlier, he had been invited to dinner at the Bell apartment. Ruth had come home from county on a Tuesday. Amara had cooked. He had brought 1 grocery bag, enough for a single meal on its face, enough for a week if you knew how to read it. Ruth had read it. He had used the bathroom before they sat down. He had set his wallet on the shelf. The corner of a black card had slid free. G. M. Iverson. Iverson Holdings. Director. Ruth had come in afterward to change the towels. She had nudged the card back and closed the wallet. At the door, kissing his cheek goodbye, she had said quietly, "I cleaned up the bathroom. Your wallet's where you left it." He had frozen. "You saw?" "Mm-hmm." "You going to tell her?" "Not unless you make me." She earned the right to figure it out herself. "I won't." "Good. Eat slow. You drove here too fast. I heard the gravel." A week after he went back, Ruth brought out a shoebox and set it on the coffee table. 7 years of napkin notes. "Eat slow, baby. You're loved. You're enough. You can rest. Don't share today. Don't share today. I mean it." He read them one by one. Why 3 words? Because that's how long it takes her to read it before she gets impatient. She's a fast girl. The world wants her fast. I needed her to learn slow. Amara came in then. She watched him handle the napkins. "Mr. Gary, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Why do you still come work the line? The school's fixed. The investigation's done. You don't owe us anything." "I'm not done learning." "From what?" "From you. From your grandmother. From Reggie." That's a nice answer. It's also a sideways one. He didn't deny it. "You moved my apprenticeship application up the list, didn't you?" "I made a phone call. The union made the decision." "To who?" "Someone who owed me a favor." "Most people don't have favors owed by union locals, Mr. Gary." He didn't answer right away. "I've worked in food a long time. I know people." She watched him. She didn't push, but a small crease appeared between her eyebrows, and she filed it. 3 months later, she was accepted into the Regional Electrical Union apprenticeship, first in her family with a salaried job and full benefits. She called Garrett first. "You earned every step of that. You sat with me when I didn't know anyone was looking." On her first day, a brand new electrical tool set was waiting at her station. Card attached. From Granary Food Services Scholarship Program. Eat slow. She read the card twice. She set the tools down. She opened a browser on her phone. She typed Granary Food Services. She looked at the leadership page. She closed the browser. She did not call him. She went to work. The following Friday, she stopped by Cornerstone with a brown paper bag. She set it on the steam table. "I packed your lunch." He opened it. Peanut butter sandwich. Apple cut into quarters. A folded napkin in her own printing. "Eat slow, sir." He laughed once. His eyes filled, but he did not let them spill. "I'll keep it." She watched his face while he read it. She was still watching when he looked up. Her expression said, "I'm not asking. Yet." 1 year after the federal arrests, Amara Bell received a printed invitation in the mail. "You are cordially invited as a founding honoree of the Iverson Granary Foundation Inaugural Scholarship Gala." She read the name twice. She did not say anything. Ruth helped her pick out a dress. Ruth had chosen her own dress already. The ballroom was lit low, soft jazz, round tables. She didn't recognize anyone. A waiter offered her sparkling water. She took it carefully. An older man in a fitted gray suit approached her. She did not recognize him until he smiled. "Mr. Gary?" Garrett, actually. Garrett Iverson. She looked at him a long moment. I know, she said. I've known since the tool set card. I just wanted you to be the one to say it. He laughed once, quiet, surprised, undone. The MC at the podium tapped his microphone. Please welcome the founder and sole funder of the Iverson Granary Foundation, who has today committed 95% of his personal wealth, approximately $2.5 billion, to permanently fund nutrition, housing, and trade school scholarships for working-class students across the country. The Foundation's flagship pilot launched last year at Cornerstone Vocational Academy, where Mr. Iverson personally worked the lunch line under an assumed name for 11 days. Amara did not look at the podium. She kept looking at him. He reached into the inner pocket of his suit and took out a folded paper napkin. He handed it to her. She unfolded it. 3 words in his own careful handwriting. You were right. You told me poor folks can't give other poor folks real food because they don't have it, he said. I had it. I didn't give it. I'm trying to learn how. I'm still learning. She offered him her hand. He shook it. Welcome back, Gary. He laughed again, softer this time. Across the room, Ruth Bell, in her best church dress, caught his eye and gave him a small nod. He nodded back. The image held on the napkin in Amara's hand. He owned the buildings. He owned the company. But he had not known 1 minute of the lives of the people inside them. So he traded 95% of everything he owned to learn. What's the name of the person who served your lunch today? And if somebody wrote you a 3-word note tonight, what would you want it to say? Tell us in the comments.